Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into Awesome Sunday Show. Before we get started, we'd like to tell you where you can find us.
You can find all of our episodes, including new content like blogs and guest blogs, on our newly launched website, awesomesundayshow.com.
Woohoo!
Our podcast is also available on iTunes, Google Play, Podbean, Stitcher, TuneIn, and YouTube. You can find all those links also on awesomesundayshow.com.
You can also follow us on our social media accounts, twitter.com/awesomesunshow, facebook.com/awesomesundayshow, and instagram.com/awesomesundayshow.
Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show.
You're listening to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah, it's a mouthful. For more great shows like the one you're about to enjoy, visit electronicmediacollective.com. And now, our feature presentation.
Hey everybody, welcome to Awesome Sunday Show. Connor here.
And Pat as well.
Pat, how you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah? We
Yeah,
went to the
just
movies
fine.
last night.
Yes, we did. You
know what movie we saw?
X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yeah, your favorite movie.
No, we saw Logan last night, and it was pretty damn awesome.
Yeah, it was really good. Like, the more I think about it, the more I really like it.
Yeah, thank God, because, well, we know X-Men Origins Wolverine was horrible, and the Wolverine, the second Wolverine solo movie, was pretty good up until the last, 30 minutes, maybe.
Yeah, you know what? The Wolverine with Hugh Jackman, where he's in Japan, the movie was great up until the last 20 30 minutes of it.
Yeah.
The third act just really fell apart. I couldn't believe it.
Right. But Logan was just phenomenal start to finish.
Yeah, it starts off funny and
Yeah.
but oh gosh, it's okay. Before we get into this,
This is going to be a spoiler-heavy review,
yeah,
so go see the movie, then come back to this.
yeah, this is completely super spoiler. We're gonna probably talk about everything.
Yeah, and you know what? Right off the bat, definitely see this movie. It's awesome. Probably the best X-Men movie, maybe.
I think it's the best X-Men movie.
And, one of the best comic book movies I've seen, for sure.
Yeah,
And you know what? It's great because it's not overly comic booky, really.
this is more of a Western than it is a
there's
comic movie.
there's heavy Western themes to it, But yeah, go see the movie, then come back to us and let us know what you think.
But let's get this episode started with some of our sponsors.
Let's do it.
You want to go first, Pat?
Sure. This episode is brought to you by GameFly. For Awesome Sunday Show listeners, GameFly is offering you a free 30-day premium trial for one game out at a time. All you have to do is go to gameflyoffer.com/awesome. That's gameflyoffer.com/awesome. And here's why you should sign up for GameFly. Convenience, cost savings, and selection. They ship directly to your door, and they give you a pre-addressed envelope for easy returns. There's no contracts. Cancel anytime. There's a 1 and 2 disc plan. So you get 1 disc out of time, and then once you beat that game or are tired of it, you send it right back. And instead of buying 2 to 3 games a year, you can get an entire year's worth of GameFly service and rent as many games as you want. So instead of, say you buy 1 game a month for 12 months, it's a lot of dough. At $60 a game, it's a lot of dough. But
Gaming's not a cheap hobby.
no, but GameFly, they have a 1 disc plan at $15.95 a month and a 2 disc plan at $22.95 a month. And that means in that entire month, you can play as many video games as you want. All you have to do is just send it back, and their selection is excellent. They have over 8,000 games and movies, which you can get at no extra charge. Including new releases as well as classics. And you know what? Some console just came out called a Nintendo Switch. I'm assuming that they're going to have those games up there as well.
They should.
But for you PlayStation and Xbox users, they have it for current generations and previous generations. There's no late fees. Say you want to keep the game that you play, you get it at a heavily discounted rate. And you get a bad game, you send it back that day, you get a new game ASAP.
Yeah.
And they're guaranteed new game comes out on a Friday, March 1st or whatever, say, or April 1st, you will get that game that day on its release day. So it's a pretty damn great offer.
Yeah,
And
that's great.
And for our listeners, you get a free 30-day premium trial. All you have to do is go to gameflyoffer.com/awesome. That is gameflyoffer.com/awesome. Thank you, Gamefly.
Yeah. So also, we got another sponsor. The show is also brought to you by BarkBox. You've heard this before on our previous episodes. BarkBox.com is a subscription service for all of your pets' needs, such as like food and toys and everything. You get a free extra month of BarkBox if you go to getbarkbox.com/awesome. And let's read off some of the benefits. So, every month, BarkBox Paws picks the best all-natural treats and innovative toys to match a dog's unique needs, including allergies and heavy chewer preferences. All edibles are made in the USA or Canada, and 100% of our products are tested on animals, our own. BarkBox is a great way to try a variety of treats and toys from local and small businesses that you may or may not otherwise be able to find. Each monthly box is themed: Country Fair, Barkball, Pooh York City, I think that's the cutest one, and Brooklyn Hipster, etc. New and unique toys continue to keep dogs engaged, interested, and happy. And if the dog does not like something in the box, we'll send you something they'll love for free, because we're all about dogs' happiness. And you know what? Why not make your dog happy? If dogs make you happy, you should make your dog happy, right, Pat?
Damn right.
And what's really cool about BarkBox is it's free shipping on any BarkBox within the continental U.S. So if you live in the United States, you can live in the most southern part of Florida or the most northern part of Washington. It's free shipping. When your dog falls in love with something from the box, you can easily find it again on BarkBox.com or an app or by texting them. So you don't have to, if you're on the go and let's say you see something in a pet shop and the dog just is barking at it. You'd be like, you know what? I could be paying for that in the pet shop, but I'm already subscribed to BarkBox. Let me go on the BarkBox app, or just text them. It's really super convenient, which in my opinion is the coolest part about it. To receive a free month of BarkBox, go to www.getbarkbox.com/awesome. I'll repeat that one more time: www.getbarkbox.com/awesome to receive an extra month of BarkBox for free.
Great. Thank you, BarkBox. Now, in today's topic of the day, Logan, Hugh Jackman's probably, hopefully not though, final appearance as Wolverine on film. Hopefully there's chance of a Wolverine Deadpool movie. Cross our fingers. Though he did say he would come back if Wolverine was ever included in the MCU, but I highly doubt that'll happen.
Yeah.
See, Sony was pretty desperate after the failure of Spider-Man 3 and then Amazing Spider-Man 2, so it made a lot more sense for them to do that. But the X-Men franchise overall is doing pretty well, so
yeah.
I don't see them offering up those rights.
Some of the past movies that have been coming out have all been pretty good to excellent.
Yeah, I think Apocalypse is the only one that underperformed.
Yeah, the only reason why that movie wasn't very good was just because the villain was just cliche.
It was just poor writing, really.
And Magneto's family was so stupid. Like,
and they cheaped out on the CGI. They didn't even finish some of it in there, which was pretty stupid.
Yeah, that
for a
CG
movie that heavily relied on CGI.
That CG was not good. Like the part with the bridges falling down was yeah.
Yeah, you know what? It really was a cliched movie all throughout.
All throughout. The villain Apocalypse was not interesting whatsoever. Like
his motivations didn't make sense. His origin to how he came back to mid-death.
Yeah. Raul Julia as Bison from the Street Fighter movie, I felt like had more motivation than Apocalypse.
Maybe.
Like it was just a take over the world scenario.
Yeah, and you know what? The forced Wolverine plot in there turned a lot of people off.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it was stupid.
Yeah, it was stupid. It was unnecessary.
It's not the worst X-Men. There are some things that are good about it. Like the casting is obviously really good.
It was pretty good. I mean, Oscar Isaac as Apocalypse would have been great because he's a great actor.
Right.
and they kind of just shit the bed on that.
And some of the action sequences were pretty cool.
Yeah, so
Yeah. It's not as bad as X-Men Origins.
your friend. But anyway, moving on from that, Logan was written and directed by James Mangold. Was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like really excellent. You know what? And it started off it kind of threw us all for a loop because it started off with Deadpool.
Right, yeah.
Walking down a street, and I was like, so first of all, I'm really impressed that they kept that a secret. That's what it was. I mean, people were speculating that there was going to be an end credit scene with Deadpool, but that was like a 3 or 4 minute little, teaser just tacked on at the beginning.
Hysterical.
Absolutely hysterical.
What was so annoying though was that like the theater we were in, nobody really got it. Like
yeah, nobody like reacted except for like us and our friends. Yeah.
Our friends and and us were
And there was
dying.
one kid behind us that were like, "Oh my god, this is awesome."
Well, that kid behind us was so annoying throughout the movie because I heard him say, "Oh my god, like this is from this," and like, dude, shut up, you're in the fucking movie. Like,
take it outside. Yeah, but it was it was just like a continuation of the Deadpool movie, but it was a teaser for the next one, including the big Easter egg in that, which was when he was in the phone booth changing, which he did, of course, in Deadpool fashion, make fun of a lot afterwards. Spray painted on the side of the phone booth was Nathan Summers is coming soon.
Yeah.
And Nathan Summers, for those who don't know yet, is Cable, which Ryan Reynolds, I mean, even at the end of Deadpool 2, said Cable's going to be in the next one. And, of course, Cable will be in the next one. He's just been talking about it. They just
2 is in T.O., not 2, number 2.
Right. And so he's going to be in the next one. He just hasn't been cast yet. So I thought it was funny. But, again, a lot of people didn't get that.
No.
Either, who also didn't react to the great teaser that it was.
It was it was a great teaser, and like not coming soon enough was a great line. Just the whole dead body, him laying on it, the Cherry Garcia ice cream.
I mean, I can't blame him for taking a dead guy's Cherry Garcia. Cherry Garcia is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
I mean, the entire thing was funny. I know I saw it uploaded online now, but I'm assuming that if you didn't listen to our warning before and ignored it, that you have seen the movie. I mean, it is online for rewatchability, or you can go see the movie again, either one. But yeah, it was a great start, and they did it instead of doing a post-credit thing. They wanted to mix it up a little bit. It was a fine idea.
Yeah. I'm not opposed to that.
Yeah, no, it was a really pleasant surprise, actually. I'm glad that they did it at the beginning. Yeah, so getting into the movie, movie takes place in 2029, and we definitely saw some advanced technology in it, like the car, the limo that Wolverine drove around, the technology in it, like its dashboard, you could see high tech, his phone, like all the phones in there, the cybernetics of the Reavers.
Well, what was annoying about the phones was like they had the Sony logos on them.
Oh yeah, they made sure that was heavily featured.
Yeah, and not that that's a big deal, but it's like, dude, like who has a Sony Xperia phone unless you work for Sony?
Robert Downey Jr. in Avengers or Civil War, either one. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, seriously, those phones are.
Well, actually, probably outside the United States, a lot of people have them. But in the United States, it's you either have an iPhone, Samsung. Maybe there's someone out there with an LG, like G5. Maybe.
Yeah. So in 2029. It was established before the movie and now in the movie, mutants are pretty much extinct. I think you said there hasn't been any mutants born in like 20 years or something like that.
Yeah.
Which again, we find out that is not true, but mutants are pretty much extinct due to a virus created by the Transigen Project, who are the big bads of the movie.
The big bad evil corporation.
Yeah. Typical, but they are owned and operated by Essex Corp, which is owned and created by Nathaniel Essex, aka Mr. Sinister, who I was hoping would be in it, but the way the movie unfolded, I'm okay with him not being in it.
Yeah, it's fine. You didn't need him.
Yeah, he kind of just would have been there unless he had conflict straight up with Wolverine. But I'm glad. I do still really want to see him in an X-Men movie, but they're not going to stop making X-Men movies. And actually, the producers of the X-Men movies just announced that they're going to not completely do away with, but the focus of future X-Men movies is not going to be a conflict between Professor X and Magneto for entire movies again, which is good because as great as they were in the previous X-Men movies, there's so many different stories and villains that they can make the focus.
Yeah, there's so much more to X-Men besides Wolverine, Magneto, and Professor Xavier, and like Jean Grey's and Scott Summers love again.
Yeah,
it's not like there's great stories, and they explore. I think X2 explored way more than people give it credit for. They explored Nightcrawler's character a lot more in that movie. Actually, X2 really does the most character exploration with Wolverine in the movie as a main character. But yeah, there's a lot. I mean, because remember, Wolverine wasn't in the X-Men for like the first 20 years or something like that when X-Men was first introduced.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of stories there.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
and even if they do want to keep doing Wolverine stories now that X-23 is involved, and they don't really give a shit about the timeline anymore. They can just put her in place. I mean, she has a lot of her own stories that are good too. If they want like a really good Wolverine story, and Hugh Jackman's not going to come back, they know they can't recast that anytime soon.
you got to give it some time.
You got to give it some time, and that's why I think it was very smart of them to include X-23 because she is the replacement, really.
Yeah, I would like to see her what she does more often.
Yeah,
than
an adult version of her. Even though the child actress that played
it was her
X-23
first
in this,
movie.
it's her first movie, and she did really great. Daphne Keane was great. I thought she did an excellent job.
Yeah,
And you know what? She didn't speak for like the first 2/3, maybe a little 3/4 of the movie.
I thought she was mute.
Yeah. And it worked because she didn't need to, but she still emitted a lot of emotions and still put on a great performance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody in this movie was great. Patrick Stewart as Professor X, which he said is his last ride as Professor X. He's gonna retire again unless, I think he made the same thing. He said if X-Men and the MCU crossover that he would do it. He did give a special exception. I'm not sure if that was it, but he did say he's done. Which I guess is fine because they have James McAvoy.
Yeah, I mean they have actors that can replace Patrick Stewart and Sir Ian McKellen. But the thing is though is that James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender look significantly younger, and in the comics, Xavier and Magneto are very old.
Yeah, for sure. But the plan is right now the next X-Men movie. It's tentatively titled Supernova. It's supposed to take place, I think, in the 90s anyway. So James McAvoy can get away with it. Hugh Jackman, phenomenal in this.
His performance was excellent. It was Oscar worthy, and this movie is Oscar worthy.
This was, every aspect of this movie was great. Really, I mean the acting was excellent. The story was really good, well done. The screenplay was excellent. The cinematography on it was awesome.
Yeah,
the fight choreography was amazing.
Right, and I'm telling you, this is a bloody movie, I mean that in the most complimentary way.
Yeah, it was brutal. It definitely, put good use to that R rating. Aside from all the, the cursing in it, it earned the R rating for the violence in it, and it was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of the best fight scenes I've seen in any, not just any comic book movie, but in most movies in general.
Yeah, and it's about time because like Wolverine has his claws, and he's been PG-13ized for so long
Yeah.
that it was just nice to
Yeah,
see.
and he doesn't play nice with people, so now he was able to like fully unleash his rage as he's in the process of dying. Not to mention that, but X-23's skills, Laura's skills, right from the bat were just so well trained and brutal. Like she was really, literally, and figuratively, a mini Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
And not only did we get to see her use the claws in her hands, but we got to see her incorporate the claw in her feet, which she put to really good use. And Professor X actually made like a really interesting comparison between her claws and a female lion's claws.
Right, and he explains how it's a result of her genetic makeup for being a female.
Right, and for those who miss it, it's the female lions in the pack are the hunters.
And they're also the protectors.
The male lion is just there to make babies.
He's there to bone, bro.
Yeah.
I would love to be a male lion. You just fucking lay out. You just lay around. You get fed, and you're just like, all right, sex.
Yeah. The female lion's front claws are for attacking and offensive, and their back claws are for defensive. And we do see Laura use that at one point when one of the Reavers is pulling her and dragging her away. She whips out the claws on her feet and plants them into the ground to drag them, and then she like kicks them and flips it, and just brutalizes them.
Yeah, she's like a little. She's like very agile at her fighting, whereas Wolverine is very like
he's more power, brute force.
Like he's gonna charge.
He's a brawler.
Yeah. She's like very like she's gonna crawl up your back and like stab you in the neck.
Yeah, she's very nimble and swings around like a monkey in in an excellent way, and it's like just her skills were phenomenal. And fun fact, this I don't know how many of you are fans of Nerdist and their YouTube channel, but on it they have this one show called Because Science. And the host Kyle Hill did an episode the other day about Wolverine and X-23's claws, and he said he determined which one is stronger. And actually, X-23's claws are stronger. And the reason is, and I thought this was actually really interesting, is because she has two claws in her hand. The lack of the third claw allows for more force for the other two, and that's what makes them stronger because she has more force, so she's able to get more power and more speed into them, like when chopping off people's arms. And then, of course, the claws on her feet, the legs are your legs are significantly stronger than your arms, so she's getting more power in that alone. But I just thought it was really interesting. I would definitely recommend checking out the videos. It was actually really interesting. Not that Wolverine's claws aren't strong, there's just less surface area, so there's more force for her able to put into it. It's a little interesting tidbit.
Yeah. Nice little, nothing wrong with some science,
Yeah, exactly.
Science is good, people.
It is. And you know what? Going back to Hugh Jackman, not only did he play Wolverine, but he played X-24, which was... X-23 is technically like his perfect clone, just in female form. But X-24 was partially a clone, but partially like an android. They made it seem because, well, actually, I don't know.
There was no robotics. He was flesh and bone and adamantium.
Yeah, maybe his eyes were because they weren't even robotic, but they had like cameras in it because. The scientist Xander Rice was able to watch through X-24's eyes,
right,
when he was fighting Logan. And
there was cybernetic enhancements in the movie. The Reavers have like robotic arms and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But actually, thinking about it, they showed each limb being grown in tanks when they were talking about something more powerful than X-23 and the child mutants, which I like the reference that they called them New Mutants.
Yeah, that was nice. And it makes sense that it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense in comic book logic that you see like the limbs grown in vials because Wolverine's mutant powers, he can regenerate. So it makes sense that a limb could survive in a vial, and they can put them together.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Attach the brain and all that jazz. So that way, if you want to put like cameras in the eyes or something, like you're not just like surgically throwing them in there.
Right. And X-24 was a wild animal, really, because he didn't have his brain might have been the only artificial thing about him, if that. But he didn't have any. His all he knew was to fight and kill.
Yeah, and listen to why can't
Xander Rice.
Xander Rice
And Donald Pierce, who also was great.
Yeah,
Donald Pierce was definitely great. But even then, he didn't really listen.
You know what character? I really liked Caliban in this movie too.
Me Too, played very well by Stephen Merchant, who I think was a great casting choice because Caliban is kind of goofy and like kind of pathetic and all. Well, in this movie he is.
He kind of sucks.
Yeah, and like Stephen Merchant has shown that he's capable of that, and I don't mean that in a negative way. But Stephen Merchant he's a goof.
Yeah.
He's a comedian. He's a comic, and I thought it did really well. And Caliban was in Apocalypse, played by a different actor, and he was way more sophisticated and intelligent in that one. And his mutant ability is to track mutants.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Respect to Caliban for helping Logan not only take care of Professor X, but after he was captured, when they get to whatever that family's house was, and he sacrificed himself to protect Wolverine and Laura.
Yeah. Well, and they acknowledge in the movie that he originally
he worked for the company Transigen.
But since there's no mutants, I feel like there's a sense of loyalty to his kind.
Yeah, there was a sense of loyalty, and they said he had a change of heart, which is why he abandoned the company. Which we can, when we see the behind the scenes video of what they were doing and how they were growing those mutants, I can completely understand why. And Transigen is responsible for the extermination of mutants, which Xander Rice talks about how in the chemicals they were creating and the formulas they were creating to quote unquote improve mankind on its own by including in all the food products and in water, both natural resources and in bottled and tap and stuff.
And that's how they learned to wipe out mutants.
That's how they learned. He said it was a unexpected side effect, but a pleasant one, because then they were able to create their own that they had under their own control, pretty much. And the way they
create weapons.
Yeah, to create weapons, and because of Weapon X program, which it was an offshoot of. And Logan killed Xander Rice's father in the Project X program.
Weapon X,
excuse me, which actually led to a little bit of funny dialogue.
Yeah, that was great. And also the way I won't give it away here, but the way he obviously Xander Rice is gonna die.
Yeah,
and you also saw the movie, but the way he kills Xander Rice was funny because he says in the beginning he's like, I don't like guns. Yeah, or like it was either beginning or the middle. He says it, and then he just like shoots him in the fucking face
right in the head. His head blows up. Speaking of guns, throughout the entire movie, we see it when Caliban first finds it. And we don't know how long he's been carrying it around, but Logan has been carrying around an adamantium bullet to eventually shoot himself in the head. And now this actually occurred multiple times in the X-Men films, especially in X-Men Origins, when it's used at the end of it to wipe his memory of what had happened up to that point.
Such a dumb fucking ending.
Which is, yeah. I mean, the entire movie was fucking dumb, but it was shown, and that's why he didn't know who he was, like anything about his past in all of the X-Men films he had been in outside of that one either. That was a main point of why he joined the X-Men, because Professor X said he would help him find out about his past and everything. So it was a good callback to a shitty movie. But he had planned on using it, and it came through in the end because it killed X-24. Laura was able to kill him with that, which
Yeah.
good on her.
Good aim.
Yeah, really good aim. Shot him right through the eyes. And speaking of adamantium, throughout the entire film, we see Wolverine. He's struggling. His healing factor is way, way slow. Not nearly. It's only a micro fraction of what it used to be. He's still able to heal, but it's taking much longer. And instead of fully reforming it, it's just creating scar tissue.
Yeah, it's not the same.
And he's feeling more pain than ever, really.
Yeah, so like what they're hinting at in the movie, I don't know if they ever really properly tell you in the movie, but he says it's probably the adamantium that's killing him.
It is. He does say, he doesn't say it outright that the adamantium is killing me, but he goes, the stuff they put in me is what's killing me, which is the adamantium which they attach to his skin. It's poisoning him.
Yeah.
And he first got it in the 70s, I think it was. Or no, well, in Origins I think it was the 70s, but in the new timeline in Apocalypse it was in the 80s because that's when Apocalypse took place.
So if it was the 80s, so it's 2029, so that's 49 years.
Yeah. So because metal can poison you, especially if it's lead. Well, it's not lead. It's an extremely dense metal, and it probably didn't allow. Because adamantium is a solid. I don't think there was any holes or perforations in it for new cells to reform and to eliminate any of the poison from the creation of white and red blood cells from his bones.
And adamantium is such a strong metal.
It is in the comics. And, well, obviously in the X-Men universe, it is the single strongest metal in the comics. It's even stronger than vibranium. But in the MCU, they can't use adamantium because it's part of the X-Men property. So in the MCU, vibranium is the strongest. But it's actually adamantium. And there was a little flaw in the logic. I mean, and that's because of what had happened in the previous movies of how the adamantium bullet would have killed him. Because it would be the only, it's the only substance that could destroy other adamantium, which was shown in the Wolverine, the previous one, because the Silver Samurai used heated adamantium to cut through Wolverine's claws, where he was then obviously able to regenerate. But because Wolverine's brain is capable of repairing itself, because every single cell of it is. It would have taken a while, but at the point that he was poisoned, it probably would have been permanent, because as we know at the end of the movie, the poison plus the serum he used completely wiped out his healing ability, and he died from multiple injuries, but mostly because a giant fucking branch went through his abdomen, it was a really sad scene, man.
Yeah, it was hard. He played Wolverine since 2000.
Yeah, he's played it for 17 years. It's literally the end of an era, really.
They took an Australian ballet Broadway dancer and made him to one of the most fucking badass movie characters of all time.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And you know what? What a way to go out.
This movie was excellent.
Talk about a goddamn, perfect swan song.
And for those if you've seen, obviously, hopefully you've seen the movie after listening to this podcast. So there's a lot of elements from the Old Man Logan comic book, but the story is really completely different.
They couldn't do a lot of it.
They couldn't do most
because
of
the rights. So they did. I think it was a good spin on it.
Yeah,
they took a lot of elements from it.
The only thing they really kept was the healing factor not being what it used to. But still, even in the comic, it's still fucking good. This it was almost not present at times. He's older, and they're going on a road trip. That's pretty much all they kept. And the comics
and his healing factor.
Yeah. In the comics, instead of
and the Reavers.
And the Reavers, yeah. In the comics, X-23, it wasn't in Old Man Logan. It was Hawkeye who was blind, which was pretty ironic and pretty funny at times. And instead of riding in the Cadillac or the truck, it was Spider-Man's Doom buggy.
Yeah, which Spider-Man have a Doom buggy is just ridiculous. But Yeah, I mean, there were various elements that they included and then, manipulated a little bit. But, yeah, they really couldn't do most of it. But, what they took, I think they did a great job with. They were faithful in some respects. But I really like the way they did it.
Yeah.
For what, the limited, what they could use from it. But Logan dying was like a really, really sad scene, especially the way Laura was reacting. I mean, she even started calling him daddy in it for the first time, and was showing real affection towards him. And, she was crying. And, again, great job by the actress Daphne Keane who played her. For being this her first movie, I think she knocked it out of the park, especially that scene.
And she has to speak 2 languages through half of the movie, too.
Yeah, Spanish and English. And the scene with Professor X dying was also extremely sad.
Yeah. And the scene, I really like the scene where, so 2 of my favorite scenes in the movie, actually there's 3 of my favorite scenes. One was when when Laura X-23 comes out with the guy's head and rolls it.
Oh, yeah.
I fucking love that part. My second favorite scene was when they're watching Shane, and I really like that movie Shane. It's an old Western, but what's in the movie Shane at the end, like it's a cowboy who's like trying to walk away from like his killer life, but he can't. He is what he is, and like that, and it's that's really what Logan's about. Logan's always going to be who he is,
right? And his actions will always follow him.
Yeah, just like just like Shane.
Yeah, and he says that when he's talking to her about killing, and then, I mean, her eulogy to him was word for word that scene where where Shane was, was talking about you can't come back from killing, this, that, and the other thing. Which I thought was a really good callback and a really great summary of what, they've gone through.
But I think the best scene in the movie, above all the action scenes, which were extraordinary, as we mentioned before, them watching Shane, the head rolling, which was that scene was so fucking funny,
and
was where they bury Charles Xavier, and he as sad as it was to see Logan's burial, and obviously it was more sad, but it was Hugh Jackman's performance, I think, in that scene where he's like crying because he's upset, but he's also kind of relieved because Professor Xavier was a burden. He's in the movie. He's the most powerful brain in the world.
Yeah,
and he has a degenerative brain disorder.
Yeah, so he's like a nuclear weapon.
He is a nuclear weapon.
They talked about the incident in Westchester, which they never really explained. They just keep acknowledging it that he did it. 600 people were injured and 7 mutants were killed.
Yeah, and I think they said including the X, and like it cuts out. So that's why I think a lot of the X-Men are gone, is because they died.
Yeah, some died even before the virus.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know how long ago the Westchester incident was. But it took a while for Professor X to even remember that. Like, Logan hid it from him.
Yeah.
But you could see when he was having the seizures just how powerful and of an effect his brain could have on people. It almost killed anyone who was within the vicinity, and was like this gravitational force that Wolverine was like pretty much, and X-23 were the only ones strong enough to fight through it, and that's because of their abilities. Which led in the hotel to, it was so like the way he killed those dudes were just amazing, and you could tell they see it coming there and they couldn't do a single thing about it, and like he just, in some cases, just slowly put his claws through the guy's head.
That was
guys'
awesome.
heads. Oh yeah, that was, dude. All his kills were just fucking great, and so were Laura's. The fights and the brutality in this movie were awesome. Like, I could, if they just did that for the entire movie, I would have been satisfied.
Yeah, it was great. It's amazing how good the CG looked in that.
Yeah,
I forgot that it wasn't CG.
Right, and I mean the CG was really limited. It was limited to obviously some of the powers, which they didn't show off a lot. I mean, because most of the movie it's just Laura and Logan, and they're going, place to place, and they really just use their claws. And then on the effects of the cybernetics of the Reavers too.
Yeah. I really like the dinner scene too when the family takes them in.
Yes,
And and this is why Charles Xavier, he's still intelligent, but he's not like the leader he was in the other movies because of his disease.
right.
And when so there's a scene where a family is kind of swerved off the road and their horses are running amok, and Charles Xavier uses his psychic powers to get the horses back in line. So they naturally invite Logan, Laura, and Charles to dinner, and where Logan's like, I don't know, no, and he's like, yeah, we would love to, and Charles Xavier just wants to stay there because it's a reminder of family and friendship and unity and something that he's missed for so long, being locked up in Mexico. But Logan's we gotta go, and he's right. Wolverine was right the whole time. They should never have stayed there.
Exactly.
Because the family was fucking murdered.
Yeah, the family is brutally murdered, and Professor X was killed because he, when speaking, I mean, he was a little senile and was dark, but he assumed he was talking to Logan, and even Laura, when she looked up, just saw Wolverine, except it was X-24, and that's what led to his death. And yeah, they should have listened to Wolverine. You can't stay there. Which, by the way, when we talked about the trailer, I called it that Professor X would die, and then the scene that we see him burying, I was right that was his burial scene. And it kind of sucks because he buried him in the woods near a lake, and had Wolverine survived the movie, he probably would not have known the location of his grave to visit, should he have, chosen to visit, which is a shame. And I hope that, maybe this, probably the same thing happened with Laura when she buried her dad at the end, when she buried Wolverine, which he finally does acknowledge at the end that he is her father, because he is, technically.
Yeah, in a weird way.
Yeah, he's she's technically his clone, but she's also technically his daughter. Which it's a little complicated.
Oh, what just came to my head was, remember when they're locked in the fallen water container in Mexico when Caliban's there, where he starts rambling about the Statue of Liberty, and he's and Logan's Statue of Liberty was a long time ago, Charles. But when they go to the motel, there's the Statue of Liberty in the sign.
Yeah.
So it's just it's kind of just an early reminder that in the movie that Charles Xavier, he's not that far gone yet. He's
right. He does have moments of clarity.
Yeah. And that was sort of one of them, because he's been communicating psychically with Laura.
Yeah.
That was a neat little touch.
And speaking of that downed water tower, the reason that he was kept in there is because it was very similar to Cerebro.
Yeah.
Which would, contain, Cerebro obviously served different purposes, but within it, it was supposed to the water tower was supposed to contain that, his powers reaching out, and it was supposed to have his concentration focused in the water tower, thinking he was using Cerebro, and they acknowledged that it didn't really work that well. I mean, it was, disheveled, and there was a lot of holes in it and stuff. And in the warehouse they were living in, you can see in one scene the sword that was given to him in the last Wolverine movie.
Yeah, when he's in Japan.
Yeah. There was a lot of Easter eggs throughout the entire thing. Going from thing to thing. Essex Corps Transgen, the sword, the Statue of Liberty, Caliban himself, Donald Pierce, who was originally a member of, in the comics, he was a member of the Hellfire Club which was started by Emma Frost and Sebastian Shaw, who were the villains of X-Men First Class. But they just reworked him to be the leader of the Reavers. And yeah, like the Reavers themselves, X-23. I wonder if and when they use X-23 later, if she'll have the costume, because her costume is the same as Wolverine's. It's the same getup.
Yeah,
The blue
similar.
and yellow. Let's see what else. I mean, the plot was really good. It was not convoluted. It was, they weren't trying to have this deep emotional thing, this deep, not like the X-Men movies with the bias and the prejudice and the hate, for racism and homophobia and stuff.
Yeah, because there's not really enough mutants.
Yeah, exactly. There wasn't. They just focused on, it was Western style road trip, save the girl, father-daughter relationship, her struggle with that.
Simplifying
drug
the
abuse.
story was a benefit.
I think it really worked out in their favor. For sure. And I like how they showed off, some of the younger mutant powers. But I mean the road trip parts with Professor X and Laura and Wolverine, I think were, really phenomenal and very emotional throughout and very deep. And I thought were an excellent way to break up the action between, the Transition Project and all the brutal fight scenes.
Yeah.
So they were good breaks between each of the violent scenes, I think. And there's a lot of depth to them. And it did really evolve Wolverine as a person, for sure. And it's what led to X-23 eventually opening up and accepting her father and vice versa, that they both accepted each other. As well as Charles showing that he's not completely gone. And, still, of course, to his very last breath, providing advice to Logan and looking over him.
Yeah. Like Charles Xavier kind of grew as a father figure to Wolverine in some weird sense. I mean, he even in the movie acknowledges like, this is my father, Chuck, to the family.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it really is. Yeah, exactly. He was a father figure, from the beginning. He tried to help Logan with his problems, recover his past, help him after he had to kill Jean, come to terms with it and accept himself, and then find himself along the way while also trying to, have Logan see himself better than what he thought of himself. Which, started to work. And, yeah, he really did take care of him. And, I mean, that was Professor X's goal with all of his students, to make them accepted, to guide them along through not just their powers, but through life in general, while still educating them like a regular school would. And, they really were like his children. All the mutants that, that sought guidance from him and were in his school and everything, and that were on the X-Men team. So there really was a lot of depth to, the entire movie.
Yeah, and it had the benefit of riding on so many other movies. And you don't have to see any other X-Men movie to get what's going on in this movie whatsoever. They convey that fine, but it does help. It does help
because there are a lot of callbacks, but a lot of them, you don't need to know, but it's good to know because you're like, oh, that's cool. Like they were talking about
it's kind of like watching The Dark Knight, and not seeing Batman Begins,
right?
There's some things that you should see, but then at the same time, you don't need to see Batman Begins,
right? And it's the same thing with the last two Planet of the Apes movies,
right?
Too, you don't need to see the first one in order to understand anything in the second one because they do kind of go over it here and there, but it is useful and beneficial to do it, especially because some of the movies that came before it, especially in terms of the X-Men, most of the ones that came before this one were good.
Yeah.
If not really good, like X2, Days of Future Past, First Class were all great.
Yeah. I mean, First Class I don't like as much as most people, but at the same time, I don't hate X-Men 3 as much as most people either. A lot of people hate X-Men 3. You know what? I think that movie's better than people give it credit for.
I think the reason people hate it is because of how poorly they handled the Dark Phoenix, I think.
They handled that
and
poorly.
coming off X2, it was a huge disappointment.
And also the ending didn't amount to anything.
No.
Not at all.
Absolutely not.
And which is fine, but Kelsey Grammer is, I still think, the best Beast.
Oh, he is phenomenal as Beast.
He's the best.
Absolutely phenomenal.
He's the best Beast. He's better than, and I like Nicholas Hoult a lot as an actor. That's the actor's name, right?
Yes.
Yeah. He's a great actor. But I don't know. He doesn't scream Beast to me.
I mean, he does a fine young Beast, but the way that Kelsey Grammer's Beast was written was much better and much closer to how he is, especially in the X-Men TV series.
And and the X-Men comics too. I mean, like, Beast has always been like one of my favorite mutants because he is this like ghoulish looking, even before he's blue, to try to reverse the mutant side, his mutant gene, and he looks more like a Beast. He's highly intelligent.
Yeah, he's actually really brilliant.
Yeah, and it kind of it's a it's not in your face metaphor, and I say that sarcastically, of don't judge a book by its cover, which is and a common prejudice among the X-Men universe. And even in like the cartoon and like the first like few episodes, Beast is in jail and you see the guards like picking him, and he's like, he's like reading a book, and the guards are making fun of him because like, he probably likes looking at the pictures, and like, but he's reading like Animal Farm.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So I've always liked Beast, and I would like to see more Kelsey Grammer Beast, but I don't think we ever will.
It's very unlikely, unless in the upcoming X-Men movies there's flash forwards. But then again, they would have to do it without Patrick Stewart because he's not going to come back.
Yeah. Also, another thing.
I mean, they could do it without him, but I doubt it. And it would be up to if Kelsey Grammer wants to come back. Also.
Right. And also another thing that the X3 does really well is showing the emotions of the characters after Jean Grey's death. I think they handled I think they killed him off way too early, but they handled Cyclops very well, and how he dealt with Jean Grey dying. Wolverine. Yeah,
not to mention their competition.
Yeah.
For Jean, even though
it wasn't really a competition.
It wasn't really a competition because Cyclops was he married to her?
He was going to.
Yeah, he was they were dating for quite a while.
Yeah. They also, I think they handled the conflict between Iceman and Pyro pretty well in that movie. What else? There was another thing that because I rewatched it not so long ago. I was like, this is not as bad as people said it was. There's obviously some shitty parts in the movie. More shitty than good, but fuck, what was I thinking that I just lost my train of thought here? Oh, Magneto's admiration for Charles Xavier after his passing, even if that didn't really count. The beginning, opening up with the Sentinels in the war room, was awesome. I think the problem with X3 is it was the same problem with the Wolverine, is that the ending didn't amount to anything, and it was a dumb ending. Yeah, that's the only real big flaw.
Dumb ending,
and also
sure.
Magneto's like kind of a pun machine in that movie if you watch it again.
Yeah, I think he was kind of written pretty poorly.
Yeah, I watch X-Men 3 again.
And it was a real it was a fall off from what they established in the first two movies. I think, in terms of that character, especially. I mean, in multiple characters, obviously. But yeah, one of my biggest gripes with it is how they handled the Dark Phoenix. I think that was just poorly
it was stupid.
done.
Oh, it was so stupid.
Absolutely poorly done.
But I think if you watch X-Men 3 again, there's more to enjoy than you previously may have, or that most people previously may have thought. Because when I first saw it, I hated it.
I did rewatch it like a few months ago, and I didn't feel any better about it. But when I first saw it, I knew there were like good parts about it, and just like there were some good parts about. Yeah.
I just don't think it's not as bad as I previously thought, and I don't think it's as bad as people say it is too. I think it's better than X-Men Apocalypse.
I don't know. That I would have to think about.
I hate the Juggernaut in
X3.
He was horrible. He was terrible. He was fucking terrible in that movie.
He was literally just a walking meme.
Yeah.
And that was before like memes were a thing. Yeah. You know? But yeah, Juggernaut was horrible in that. If you want to see a really good rendition of Juggernaut, I mean, and most of the X-Men characters really, find the X-Men animated series online.
It's a great series.
That show is excellent, and that was a really good side to Wolverine too. I mean, there was a lot of similarities between that and what they did in the X-Men franchise and the movies so far. But there's also a lot of differences to it, and a lot of really good differences to a lot of the characters that have appeared in the X-Men film franchise.
Yeah.
Except for fucking Jubilee. Fuck Jubilee. Jubilee sucks. I don't know why they made her such an important character in the X-Men animated series.
In the comics, she's actually like not terrible. She's a fan. She's like a fan favorite amongst like IGN's like top 10 X-Men or something like that. She was up there, but she sucks in that show. I don't know why people like her in that show. And she has a kind of a cool power, but the only problem with her power is
sparklers at her hand.
They're like fireworks, but they look like sparklers. But the only problem with Jubilee, well, actually, there's a million problems, but the only problem with her power, I should say, to be more specific, is that it's very inconsistent. Sometimes she can like blow up computers, and then she like shoot a sentinel and like does nothing. But then she'll shoot a sentinel again, and it like puts a hole through him. There's some inconsistencies, but Rogue is awesome in that series. Storm is awesome in that series.
Yeah. Oh, they were great, and that's what speaking of Rogue. A lot of people were pissed that she wasn't in Days of Future Past, but I thought she sucked in the first 3 X-Men movies.
Oh, no, I loved her in the first 3.
I liked her in the first one, but overall, like I don't think she was good, really. And I don't know if that's the fault of Anna Paquin or just the writing. I just didn't really like her.
Well, I never watched the Rogue cut of Days of Future Past.
It only adds like a few minutes, and it wasn't worth it to me to watch it because, again, I didn't really like her. I liked her in the first one, and then she was okay in X2, and then I just really wasn't a huge fan of her. I think she's so much better in the X-Men animated series and in the comics.
Yeah, she's way better, but I don't know. I loved her in the first 2 a lot. In the third one, it didn't make sense because, again, it didn't amount to anything. That mutant elimination gene thing, whatever.
Yeah.
Didn't have to. It literally had nothing to do with the story of the Dark Phoenix. They could have cut that out completely. Hence why
they should have done one or the other.
Yeah. Hence it. But I'm glad even though the Dark Phoenix was handled poorly, at least it was something. It just that. I know I said it 4 times already, but it's just annoying that X-Men 3 didn't amount to anything. But they kind of retconned it with Days of Future Past because there's a lot of similarities between those movies.
I know. Now they're going to be doing Dark Phoenix in the next X-Men movie.
But I really liked her in X-Men 1 and 2 because her like she can never and like I'm not saying this to be funny, but she can never have sex.
No, she can't have physical contact.
Yeah, like she can't even kiss her boyfriend.
Well, yeah, and she can't touch people either.
Yeah, like it just down and like again, I don't say that to be funny, but like you can't even hold hands, but then like imagine having a boyfriend and it's like
well, that's why.
Yeah, or
with,
husband,
with Bobby, with Iceman.
Yeah, you can't express that physically or emotionally. Really.
Well, emotionally you can. Like that's kind of what her relationship with Bobby, the Iceman, was. It was more emotional and flirtatious. It was a little more romantic with the acknowledgement that nothing physical could happen. You can't even hold hands.
Yeah,
or anything. And for those who don't know, the reason is because she absorbs like the life energy of a person and of mutants as well, and takes their power, but it drains like their life force. And mutants are able to handle it better. But like an average person, like with her boyfriend, she kills him.
No, he was put in a coma.
Oh,
in the first movie. Yeah,
nearly
he
kills
almost
him.
Died.
And probably died in a coma or anything. But yeah, it's horrible. And the more she concentrates and the longer she holds onto that person, the quicker they're gonna die. And I think that they actually did that very well in the X-Men animated series too. Not to keep harping back to it,
but in the X-Men animated series, it was Gambit that was always kind of trying to put the moves on her,
right? And
she would get frustrated. She's like, "I can't touch you. Like you don't understand. It's like I will kill you."
Right. And that's Logan. Getting back to the main topic, did take they spun it differently, but the elimination of mutants. They just spun, in X3 it was a mutant injection that you can voluntarily do it, but it wouldn't, wasn't really going to kill you, supposedly. But in this, they just transformed it into a virus, which is closer to what Old Man Logan had.
Right.
So there really was a lot of acknowledgement and references to every X-Men movie that has come before it. Even, pre-resetting of the timeline and then post-resetting of the timeline. Although maybe the incident at the Statue of Liberty that occurred in X1 with the new timeline could have gone different ways.
Possibly.
But we'll never see that probably.
What would you put Logan on as ranking the X-Men movies?
I mean, I really don't want to jump quick to judgment, but I think it's the best one. And I think Days of Future Past is phenomenal, one of the best comic book movies ever. I think it might be better, but I mean, I've only seen Logan once. I've seen Days of Future Past at least like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah. For me, I've always had I want to say this is the best one too, but I don't know. I really love X2 and Days of Future Past.
Yeah, I think
a lot.
I think I would. I'm gonna say it's number one, just because. I mean, I was blown away by Days of Future Past, like when we saw it, but I was way more blown away by Logan.
I think Logan was able to focus. Like, the thing with the X-Men movies is that you were always able to relate to it on a big picture scale, because it's always been like kind of a reflection of like common society. And it's like there's a lot of social commentary in X-Men when it comes to prejudice, racism, and that kind of goes hand in hand today. Unfortunately, but Logan was had a much smaller idea. It was a relationship.
I think
between
there was
characters.
Yeah, there was, it was much more. It was much more relatable in an emotional sense.
Right, and I think it's kind of it worked. I would tie this with X2. I think because but on a different scale. I think I have to watch it again to see if it is the best one. But if you were to like put a gun to my head, I would say that Logan's the best one right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Logan. Days of Future Past slightly outdoes X2. Then First Class, the Wolverine, Apocalypse, X3, then X-Men Origins Wolverine. That was just horrible.
Yeah. Logan, X2, Days of Future Past, X-Men. I'm trying to think of all.
Oh, I forgot X1 in there. I would put X1 tied with First Class.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't really think of a list off the top of my head right now. But there's First Class. There's so many friggin' X-Men movies.
Yeah, there really is. I mean, you got the original trilogy, so that's 3. You got the new trilogy, 6. The Wolverine one,
that's 9.
And then Deadpool's 10. They're close to the amount of MCU movies, but just not there yet.
Yeah, MCU has 14 or 15 movies.
It's in the teens.
Yeah.
And they're now that they're releasing 3 a year, they're gonna quickly outnumber them. Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe now they'll start doing more X-Men movies a year. I don't know. Because they want to do a New Mutants movie. Then there's this X-Men quote unquote Supernova for now, which is going to be about the Dark Phoenix. And then obviously Deadpool 2. And then there's plans for an X-Force movie, the Gambit movie.
Yeah, and isn't Wolverine leader of the X-Force? Or is it X-Factor? No, Cable's X-Factor.
Yeah, Cable's X-Force. I don't know. It changes.
Yeah, well, just like the X-Men.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, I could see maybe if they do an X-Force movie, have it in the X-23 verse.
They could.
I'm coining that right now. The
X-23 verse.
Yeah,
X-23 era. I think is good.
Because I would like to see her lead a team.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Because she's already shown a lot of instincts and abilities.
At the end, it's a cross that they put at Logan's grave, but then she turns it into an X.
Yeah, I thought that
which might be a little bit of foreshadowing.
Yeah, could be. It was also a nice nod to him being on the X-Men, which I think is what it was more so for. But
I think so too, but you never know.
Yeah, it could be. But yeah, they would just have to include. I mean, the timeline is already wonky as it is. I mean, even Deadpool makes fun of it. So X-23, an older version, could appear in the same, within the same amount of years as Deadpool. It could take place at the same time or slightly, after Deadpool 2, or anything. They could really do it with anything.
Yeah.
But I mean, she's going to be unless they decide to completely abandon it for some stupid reason. She's going to be Wolverine's replacement.
I want her to be.
And I think she should be because I think she's a great character, and they really should be. You know, it's time for a change. You can't replace Hugh Jackman, especially not right away.
Yeah. I don't know if they ever. Well, they have to eventually.
Eventually they could, but I mean, they may never be able to replace how great he was as it. Like find somebody as a fully qualified replacement.
Yeah.
But they will obviously recast at some point. But I think they should focus on X-23 if they're going to do any Wolverine-based thing.
Agreed. Now, I think we should finish off the podcast, because I have to get ready for work soon. But who do you think would probably be, and off the top of your head, so if someone were to replace Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, who do you think could do it?
Right now,
don't say Jaden Smith.
No. That kid should not be in movies. Damn, this is a really tough question.
Right? It's I have an actor.
Tom Hardy.
Okay, that's a good choice. Now, my choice, it would never happen because he already played Apocalypse, but mine would be
Oscar Isaac.
Oscar Isaac. If you were to beef him up, he can do it.
I mean, the guy is extremely talented,
but he's already Apocalypse, so it'll never happen.
It could happen. Look at Chris Evans. He played multiple, Marvel characters. Granted, they were in different universes. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I can't see him as Wolverine, though. I think he could come back and be like a really strong X-Men, depending on how they want to, a different character. But I can see Tom Hardy being a good Wolverine. Yeah. Especially because on the shorter side, so he'd be closer in stature to Wolverine. But not that was a big selling point, because like a lot of people were complaining about that when Hugh Jackman was cast, because he's like 6'2" or something like that, and Wolverine's like 5 foot.
Yeah, but they also, the way they shoot him is like he doesn't look like a tall guy in those movies.
Yeah, I think he kind of does.
Really?
I mean, he looks like an average height. Like he looks like closer to my height.
Yeah.
Like,
whereas Wolverine in the comics, like they acknowledge like he's a short guy.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, I think at the tallest, like 5'3" or something like that. So he's almost a foot taller than Wolverine is supposed to be. Yeah. But I think Tom Hardy can bring the same ferocity and brutishness that Hugh Jackman brought to Wolverine, and some depth, because he's really talented. If you put in a mixture of his characters, I don't know if you've ever seen Bronson.
I saw it a long time ago.
Or how many people have, but if you combine that with his character in The Revenant and trying to think what else. Maybe a little bit of Bane in there. But I think Tom Hardy could do it. I think he's got the chops to do it. Plus, in Bronson, he got huge for that.
Yeah.
And Bane, dude can bulk up.
Yeah,
for
he
sure.
can.
Yeah, I could see Tom Hardy as a good replacement.
All right, that's not a bad choice.
If they go with the adult X-23, who do you think could play that as the adult Laura?
I think
Willow Smith.
Willow. You ever see that movie Willow?
No.
You should check it out.
That sounds like I shouldn't.
But an adult X-23. I don't know. That's a hard one. I wouldn't really want like a famous actress. I would want them to do what they did with Logan and just find someone new.
But yeah, that's not
because I'm trying to go through like Disney or like Nickelodeon actresses that are younger,
like a kind of small name, like no name almost.
Yeah,
like they Force Awakens.
Yeah, exactly, or kind of what they did with Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, I mean, he really was like a no name.
He was a fucking no name
from Australia.
Yeah, when they found him,
and look how well that turned out.
He he's very humble when it comes to like, he's not like, he doesn't try to escape that he's the Wolverine, because he knows like
Right.
that has got, and he's played other great roles besides Wolverine. If you've ever seen Prisoners, he was awesome in that.
Oh, he's phenomenal in Prisoners.
Yeah, and of course I can't think of any.
I mean,
other
I'm
names.
throwing phenomenal around a lot in this podcast, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
He was in Les Miserables,
which he was good in.
He is a really fantastic actor.
Yeah.
He really is. I mean, he's going to be associated with Wolverine the rest of his life, but he's okay with that.
Yeah.
And, he should be, because he was, it's all great performances. It helped launch his career. Oh, well, it gave him a career, really.
Yeah, it really did.
But, yeah, he did an excellent job, and it's it's the end of an era.
Thank you, Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, thank you, Hugh Jackman. Not that you're ever going to listen to this, but thank you.
Imagine if he does and he comes on the podcast.
If Hugh Jackman even, contacted me in any way, I would lose my shit. And then if he asked, hey, I heard your podcast, I want to be on. Dude, I would not know. I would just, and he was sitting here with us, I would just not know what to say. I'd just be in awe.
I would have like a table of like just anything from like Vegemite and like just like all like delicacies that he likes like on the table. I'd make sure like he is comfortable.
Yeah.
Like all our guests can go fuck themselves. Like Hugh Jackman gets the full treatment.
Dude, if Hugh Jackman came on, I think we should. I mean, not that this will ever happen, but if he were to ever come on, we should end the podcast with that episode. Like that'll be the last one, because we can pop it.
We'll start a new one.
Yeah, we'll just start a new one.
No, fuck that. We're not ending the podcast, dude. You know how many people would listen if he came
true.
on?
I mean, it could get more guests, more famous guests, but. Oh, dude! If I were to ever meet Hugh Jackman, I would just be stoked.
Yeah, I don't.
Even if you were just like send me a tweet or something.
Like I've met celebrities before, and I don't get starstruck. Like I'm not
Who'd
like
you meet?
I like when I've gone to like conventions. I've met Ernie Hudson. I met Fred the Hammer Williamson. I've met Ray Park, who played Darth Maul, and not that they're like big celebrities.
But you haven't met a Hugh Jackman level. That's what you're saying.
Have I? I'm trying to think. I'm looking at the wall right now. Well, Ernie Hudson's
Ernie Hudson was big, but not.
He's not Hugh Jackman big, but like, all right. But the point is, like, I don't get like starstruck. Like, if I saw like Anne Hathaway walk down the street, I'd be like, oh, that's Anne Hathaway. I'm not gonna be like, oh my fucking god, it's Anne Hathaway.
Yeah, I wouldn't really. I mean, I'd be like, oh, that's cool. I wouldn't really.
If I saw like Leonardo DiCaprio and like Hugh Jackman, I'd be like,
holy shit.
I'm taking a picture with you. Like,
yeah.
I don't care how pissed you are. Like, you can fucking curse me off. Like, we're taking
and
a
you
picture.
would welcome that,
Yeah.
too. I'd be like, this is amazing. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, what would you rate Logan out of 10?
I'll give it a 10 out of 10.
Me too.
Yeah. It's
I immediately
excellent.
saw that.
Yeah. This and Get Out, I think are so far the two best movies of the year.
I mean, it's still young in the year, but I think they'll remain that way. I mean, I haven't seen Get Out yet, but I think Logan will still remain that way. For me, if not, if other movies outshine, I think it's still going to be one of my favorite movies throughout the year.
Yeah, and we still got a long ways to go when it comes to comic book movies.
Yeah, I mean, Guardians comes out in 2 months,
and it all ends with Justice League.
Yeah, the day that this is being posted, I think Guardians come out exactly 2 months.
Yeah,
and then we got Spider-Man in July, and Wonder Woman, and then to end the year, there's Justice League, and then the new Thor.
Is Thor after Justice League?
I think it's like it's either a week before or a week after. They're within a week of each other, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Imagine if Thor like totally takes over Justice League.
That'd be fucking hysterical.
It's not. Justice League is going to make more money than
then
Thor.
Like DC would be in ultimate trouble.
Yeah.
Which they really are already in a way. I mean the movies have still made a bunch of money. So not really, but they're gonna lose if the movies keep churning out shit. They're gonna not make money, and they're gonna people are gonna not gonna spend money to go see shit movies if they keep churning out shit.
Yeah,
fan faith is already waning. But I think that with how good Logan came out, a lot of people lost faith in the X-Men franchise with Apocalypse, but they also lost faith with X3 and then with Origins.
Yeah.
But I think Deadpool and Logan have definitely brought a lot of people back and given them a lot of faith.
Yeah, and again, Apocalypse is not as bad as people say it is. It's just not very good.
Yeah, but I think with Ryan Reynolds as a driving force, and I hope James Mangold stays around for future X-Men related movies.
I don't know. I don't think he will. I hope he does. If they ever do another solo movie, like,
Especially if he's a writer on it, because I think that the Wolverine would have been better if he was a writer on it. He only directed it, but he wrote or co-wrote Logan.
he wrote Logan. I'm pretty sure he wrote it. Like
He came up with the story, and then he was a co-writer on the screenplay. And of course, obviously directed it. I hope he would stay around. Because for better or for worse, Bryan Singer's not coming back. Except he's the new X-Men based show that they're doing for Fox. He's going to direct the pilot.
That's fine.
Yeah, but I thought Matthew Vaughn was great for First Class, and especially he did Kingsman, right?
Yes.
That was fucking awesome.
That was great.
So I hope he would come back. I hope James Mangold comes back. We'll see.
Yeah.
And then Noah Hawley, who's doing the amazing Legion show on FX, which if you're not watching, you got to fucking do it. Maybe he'll get more involved in the film franchise, but but anyway, to wrap it up, thank you again to Gamefly and BarkBox for sponsoring us. Again, go to gameflyoffer.com/awesome for a free 30-day premium trial. And what's the BarkBox?
BarkBox, it is getbarkbox.com/awesome
for a free month with a 6-month or 12-month subscription. Thank you guys for listening. Let us know what you thought about Logan. And you know what? Have a great day. Have a great week.
Have a great life.
Yeah. And we mean that in a positive way, not, a lot of people say that in a negative way, but we mean it in a positive way. All right, guys. Take it easy.